Hey folks, welcome back to another Poem Master video, and today we're going to finish the, this month's, I guess, end of the month tier list videos, right? Ending with Striker, as usual. Because we saved the most controversial ones for the last. Although, it's really weird how, like, controversial, like, Striker tier lists are. Because usually, Striker tier lists should be, like, the most clear-cut ones, because Strikers, their main, role is, or role, sort of goal is to deal damage. And you could easily just calculate how much damage each one does, right? And it's usually pretty clear cut in terms of like what numbers they output. Obviously, it's not everything, but it's a pretty big component of what strikers are do, right? But for some reason, they're most controversial. I guess people just are really emotionally attached to certain strikers or whatever. And there's just so many that like there's a lot of strikers that people never like tried out or whatever, right? And they've never had or never experienced it or whatever, right? So I guess that might be why. But usually, again, the numbers are pretty clear on most of them, right? And obviously, again, I'm not saying that's what all just because or else Steven wouldn't be up there. Steven's numbers aren't the craziest, but Steven does a billion other things, right? That are fantastic. But anyways, let's get into this, I guess. Again, shout outs to the folks who, helped work on this with me. So again, it's just not my own opinions. Also, some other, some other people who I do think know their stuff relatively well. Right, again, yeah, shout outs to Runner, Spark, Prank, which, by the way, happy birthday. And Hoshi, right? So, let's do this. Starting from, I guess. Also, I forgot to mention, but for like this list in comparison to like the older ones, right? I do put a bit more consideration to Master Mode because Master Mode's the new thing and it's probably like the hardest thing in the game right now, and it's the most like relevant one. So like I'd give like extra points for like units that perform better in Master Mode, and maybe not as many extra points for units that like do really great in like Villa, like something like Iris or whatever, right? Although Iris is still really good. So, anyways, finally, let's start. So starting out with Rosary, I probably put in Med here. It's really good, solid damage. I think it's probably like the best ungridded, 4-star, 3-star striker, right? Really great damage. The defenses are kind of bad, unfortunately, and it's not the fastest, but what can you do? Moving on, Dragonite. Dragonite just solid damage, right? Like usually, all the top tier damage dealers are units that can take advantage of either weather or terrain, right? Dragonite cannot take advantage of any of those, yet it's still like up there with those units, right? Just a testament to how much damage this guy does. So just does a lot of damage, has potions, healthy healing, right? Decent bulk, all that stuff. Really nice. Pheromosa. This was a very controversial one, but I did eventually give it amazing, because like I don't think a lot of people understand how to use Pheromosa. It's a very complicated unit, and you have to play it really well to unleash like its full potential, right? It is relatively hard to play with it, right? Because of its defense stats, but the defensive stats, if you play it well, Pheromosa could be tankier than like a lot of these strikers on this list, because it has some really great defensive stuff that people do not know how to use, right? And on the other hand, it does incredible damage, right? It's offense stats are through the charts, and it has some like okay-ish multipliers as well. It's not like Dragonite that has like crazy stats, offensive stats, but like has no multipliers. Like Pheromosa has like crazy multipliers or crazy stats, and has some like solid multipliers as well, right? And the biggest thing about Pheromosa is its speed, insanely fast, right? This thing is insanely fast, and you don't need any other supports because it could just max out its own special attack on its own, and crit as well if you pick up MP Refresh on the crit, right? And so you could easily run as like a secondary striker in a lot of incredible teams. Like the teams that Pheromosa are in are just like absolutely just bonkers, right? You could run it with Alder in a double striker team. You could run it with Ice Steven and a Hail team, right? With Blizzard. It's just it could do so much in so many different scenarios, right? Moving on, Pidgeot. Pidgeot's probably here as well, right? Amazing. So the thing about Pidgeot is it's what I really like about Pidgeot is a really great speed and solid defenses, right, for a striker. Its damage is good, although I don't like its damage being good, which is kind of weird. And here's why: is for its damage to be like really great, you kind of have to pick up Harry 5. And Harry 5 not that great of a multiplier in my opinion, unless you're like running like a team comp with like a Skylarkis or something that you could consistently get flinches with. Otherwise, I'd probably just not run it and just instead just go for a more flexible team comp, right? That could either defend better, survive longer, whatever. I probably would give up on that multiplier because again, it's not that great. Like the numbers are good, but the conditions aren't the greatest, right? So there's that. Moving on to N and Zekrom. N and Zekrom I do think is slightly underrated. Its numbers are insane. It's insanely high numbers, right? In terms of damage, right? In Electric Train, obviously the downsides kind of suck as well, right? It's really slow. It does have the free, you do get like a free move after you sink, but it doesn't really save it, unfortunately. But overall, it's still really good, right? With Electric Train. The only big complaint with Zekrom is the team comps kind of suck, right? Obviously you have to run luxury with it, but then after that you need a crit buffer, and like none of the crit buffers really fit Zekrom that well, unfortunately, unless you're picking like MP refresh on X attack, and then you could bring like a Sabrina or something like that maybe, or hope to get like an MP refresh on to the top with like Sings of Blue maybe. It's overall it does not have a great team comp, but again the numbers are undeniably good. Moving on, I got Zacian. Zacian is probably an amazing as well. It's a fantastic, secondary striker, right? Great speed, has a billion different move gauge refreshes, right? Has both steel and fairy coverage. It's just a fantastic unit that you could, again, run double strikers in. Moving on, we got Zipstriker. Zipstriker I put in the really good tier. Fantastic sync nuke damage, right? With inertia. Wild Charge does solid damage as well, has a lot of HP, really fast as well, right? This is like Zekrom is like the one that like the Electric Striker that does a bit more damage, and then Zipstriker is the one that's like much faster, right? Moving on, Braviary. Oh god, Braviary is, I'd say, quite useful, right? It's a solid second option if you're running it with another striker. It's probably one of the weaker ones, though, just because its damage is just not that great, right? I mean, Aerial Ace, it has some really great multipliers, but eventually it doesn't give you, like, incredible numbers. But it still has Inertia, which is a solid sync nuke. It could buff all its own stats, right? It maxes out its own attack and crit and all that stuff, so you don't need to run, like, another support in that double striker team to accommodate Braviary, because Braviary has everything, right? But it's nothing amazing. Moving on, Ethan's in really good. It does fantastic damage. It's really fast as well, right? It could heal itself in like a billion different ways, which is really nice. Fantastic multipliers. Moving on, Dugong. Dugong, I guess I'll put it in the quite useful tier. It has some really great multipliers, right? It's, I don't know, it's a solid striker. Charizard is still in the best here, right? Fantastic glass cannon. And the thing that I really like about Charizard is it generally doesn't have that many move gauge issues, despite it's not that great speed, right? Because you do have like +6 speed on your trainer move for one, and then you could also run like Speeding Sun, and usually you won't have any gauge issues on whatever team you're running it with, especially if you're running it with Blaine, right? Which is really nice. So yeah, that's Charizard. Moving on, we got Sceptile. Sceptile is an amazing tier. Um, it does a lot of damage. It's pretty fast as well, right? Which is slightly underrated. Underrated point about Sceptile. Yeah, it's good. Ice Steven, an easy, top tier here as well. Ice Steven is just absolutely broken. It has infinite hail. It does it hits like a truck. It flinch your opponent. It could do a billion other things, right? It heals and hail. It's move gauge, charge faster than hail. It's just fantastic, right? Moving on. Jigglypuff, I'd probably put in the good tier. I was borderline moving it up one, but I don't know. Its damage isn't like crazy. It has really, really good damage, but it's not like anything like insane because again, all like the top tier damage units in this game either have like weather or terrain, except for like Lance, I guess. But yeah, it's really, really great damage, but it's not like next level, right? What I really like about it is that you're running it with Serena, which is anything running with Serena is insanely good. But Jigglypuff with Serena is obviously fantastic, and then you get a free sleep on your sync move as well. All right, the one thing I don't like about Jigglypuff is it's so slow. It's incredibly slow, which kind of sucks. Moving on, Gyarados is an amazing tier. Gyarados is basically it's if you're comparing it to like Blue as a striker, right? Gyarados like blows Blue out of the water in terms of damage dealing, just so much more damage than Blue. But it is slower than Blue, right? It's 4-gauge move. Blue is faster. But Gyarados does have potions, which is really, really advantageous as well, right? So give or take the upsides, downsides in terms of these two. Seabad, probably in Broad here, is good stats. Has a really interesting mechanic. I really like crit focus, heals, all that stuff. It's just 2-gauge moves, kind of suck. Garchomp's still up here, right? Fantastic damage dealer. Really, really fast. Great defenses as well. Survive very, very long, right? So there's that. Solgaleo, probably a mid here. Damage isn't the greatest, right? The moves are cool, I guess. Focus Blast is a great move. Sunsteel Strike is really, really great as well. It could take a few hits, right? It's just really slow, which really sucks, especially when you're setting it up initially. It eats up so many gauges, which is a downside. Karen Howdoom's still amazing tier. It does like phenomenal damage, right? So again, like one of the like rare units that does like crazy damage without weather or terrain. Moving on, Mudstale, probably put it in Broad here. I think Mudstale's underrated. I think Mudstale's really, really underrated. It has really, really great defenses. It has a solid 3-gauge move, right? And okayish attack. Moving on, Solrock. I think Solrock is overrated, right? It has really, really great physical attack stat. It has a solid sync nuke, but outside of that, it just has like 2-gauge moves that really don't do much damage. I think Solrock's incredibly overrated. Moving on, Sylveon's just bad. I don't know, it just doesn't do much damage at all. I mean, you could use it as a tank, but like there's just so many other better tanks than it. Like you don't even want to use it as a tank. It's just not great. Rourke, you take yourself out really quick. You could do some really, really good damage before you take yourself out, but you take yourself out, which is not good. Moving on, Palkia. I'm borderline between like quite useful and I put it in quite useful. I mean, it still does really, really great damage. And now main Swamper's a thing, right? It's even better now with the Hydro Pump, right? Moving on, Mismagius, we're putting in the good tier. Fantastic multipliers. Damage is okay. It's not anything crazy. But yeah, Shadow Ball with the honor rolls are really, really nice. Conkeldurr put in the Brood here. It's really slow. I really want Conkeldurr to be good, but it's just not. Right, I like Drain Punch units, but it's slow and bad. Slacking is probably the worst striker in the whole game. It's normal type. It's super effective against nothing. It's slow. It has a recoil move and it doesn't save itself from the recoil. Yeah. All right, this is probably a controversial one, but I don't think Lycanroc is as good as I initially thought. The more I use Lycanroc, the more disappointing it becomes. It's not anything else other than the damage. The damage is just not as great as I wish it would have been, right? I'll still put it in really good, because it's still really good, right? The special defenses are terrible. Obviously, I have to use hard as diamonds. I don't know, as an okay-ish sync nuke. As well, not okay, it's just a pretty good sync nuke, right? It's just that the Stone Edge damages aren't, like, they're not too crazy. Moving on, Reuniclus probably in the, put in the good tier, I guess. I mean, Reuniclus, it's a really tanky striker, does some solid, you know, psychic damage. Glade is easily in the amazing tier. It hits like an absolute truck. Gets, you know, free crits from megaing, right? Metagross is still, in my opinion, probably the best striker in the game. And, by the way, Metagross just got buffed recently, if you guys don't know. Metagross's aggravation chances got buffed, like, quite a bit. It has, like, a 60, almost, like, 70%, like, 65-something% chance to flinch the opponent, which is just absolutely insane. Like, Metagross, Metagross is, like a top-tier attack unit that does, like, phenomenal damage, right? Right, as a striker, like, if you're comparing to, like, a lot of the other strikers, like, it doesn't do that much damage, right? But, like, it just does so many other, like, great things, right? Recuperation is one of the most broken skills in the game. Again, flinch is incredibly broken in this game. It's just phenomenal, right? Again, recently got buffed as well for some reason. I don't know why, but it did. Volcarona in the amazing tier. It's really fast, right? Which is really nice. Hits like a truck. Takes a bit to set up though. Well, it doesn't take that long. Depending on, I mean, if you use Electrode, it gets set up almost immediately. But yeah, it can run double striker, which is fantastic, right? With its speed. And speaking of double strikers, we got the other one that could also do that very well. Sharpedo. Running Sharpedo, Mei, and Singsu Blue is probably one of the best teams in the game right now. Like, outside of, like, Serena just sleeping everything, taking no damage, and beating everything without even, like, lifting a muscle. This might be the best team in the game right now. Mei is the best damage healer in the game. Singsu Grimsley is also a fantastic damage healer, right? And then Blue's a really great tank that could also do some solid damage under rain, right? So, absolutely bonkers team, right? With Sharpedo in there. Again, really fast. And it has the honor roll, like, crunch defense debuffs, which honor roll also got buffed as well. Barry, I'd probably put in the, I don't know, good tier, maybe? Yeah, I'll put Barry in the good tier. It's okay, right? It has really great sync nuke damage. It's just that the bubble and bubble beam damage kind of suck. It has really great stats all around as well, right? So that's cool. Mewtwo probably in the quite useful tier. It got buffed again with the, Musharna psych train, right, which is really nice. So there's also, you know, double psychic ghost coverage. I think a really like, a lot of people talk about, oh, Mewtwo's bulk sucks. I don't think it's that bad at 20 out of 20. Like, at 20 out of 20, like, this thing has, like, okay-ish bulk. It's, again, it's not anything amazing, but it's not like, I really don't think it's as bad as people say it is. Let's see, where is it? Right, when you're looking at it, like, when it's 0 out of 20, it's absolutely atrocious, right? This is, like, terrible. But I like 20 out of 20, it's not the worst, right? Again, it's not anything amazing, but, like, around 130 each, that's not terrible. And the thing I really like about it is, like, the amazing speed, right? I just wish it hit a bit harder. It doesn't have any great multipliers, unfortunately. It has really good special attack stat, though. But again, really high special attack with, like, no multipliers and, like, really bad BP or average BP doesn't make you a really hard hitter, unfortunately. It's not bad though. Mightyena, this is probably, like, the closest one to getting into best from amazing. It's such a versatile striker, right? As crunch with on a roll, insult to injury, fantastic multipliers, right? Or you could double edge to do even more damage, but slightly risky. It has a sync nuke with Haymaker as well, right? As carry on. It's just such a great, well-rounded striker. Infernape, probably put in the quite useful tier, right? For just solid damage, I guess. It's kind of frail, but, you know, outside of that, it's good damage. I don't know. Can't argue with good damage. Hilda, probably in the really good tier. The fantastic sync nuke has potions, right? Flame charge, which fixes the speed issue generally. A lot of HP, has the recoil move with Flare Blitz, which you could really just control with the bunch of steadfast nodes that it has. It's not even that big of a deal. B-Drill, I'm probably in the bruh here. I actually kind of like B-Drill. I think it's slightly underrated, right? You can max out its attack easily without even using MP, which is cool. But again, I mean, it doesn't do much after that. Ho-Oh, probably in the good tier. Now that it's 20 out of 20, it fixes a lot of its issues, right? Mainly its defensive issues. Gets like completely fixed, right? It's a fantastic versatile unit that could do like a billion things, right? Utility wise, it has 50% chance to burn with Sacred Fire. Overheat does really great damage with Dauntless. Solar Beam is fantastic 2-gauge grass type coverage spam move, right? And then obviously the big, elephant in the room is it has infinite sun, right? Which is fantastic because there's a lot of really great fire type strikers in this game, or fire type damage dealers that can really benefit from the infinite sun, right? Moving on, Fraligator probably in the quite useful tier. It's probably the best of the quite useful though. Yeah, it's quite useful. I think Fraligator is severely underrated. A lot of people talk trash about Fraligator. It's really not as bad as people think. Meg Kick still, a really high BP move, right? The damage is solid. Haymaker is still Haymaker. Obviously, unfortunately, the attack stat not that great. But Haymaker under Rain is still a Haymaker under Rain, right? Which, again, damage is still solid. Moving on, Guzma probably here as well. I mean, Guzma is just a better Braviary, right? With better defenses and a bit more damage, right? But otherwise, it's kind of at where Braviary's at in terms of its role. Kamo's in the amazing tier. Its damage is not the best, unfortunately, but it has a lot of really great things. It could, the sync move countdown is nice. The Omni boost on your sync is really great. A lot of people say, oh, well, the defense is dropped from Clank, so it's not a big deal, man. You drop 3 defense per sync move cycle, you pick up another 2 back right on your sync. So you only get like -1 every sync cycle. Like you probably just end the game with like -2, maybe 3 at most, honestly, right? So it's overstated. And then you get like max out special defense, you max out your speed, really great. Sorry. Moving on, Toucannon. Toucannon probably in Broad here. I mean, it's like Soul Rock, I guess. You spam Peck and then has a decent sync move, I guess. Driftblim, put in the quite useful tier, I guess. Has a solid sync nuke. Shadow Ball's okay. Phantom Force is terrible. I mean, Phantom Force, yeah, it's terrible. Moving on. Probably above Salazar in the good tier. Its damage is not the greatest, right? It's actually not that great at all. However, it is really fast and it has a 1-gauge spam. That also both flinches and poisons the opponent, which is really good, right? Moving on, Leavanny. Leavanny is another one that I've been contemplating maybe moving up, right? Although other people disagree, which is fine, I guess. I think Leavanny is severely underrated. Like it has the 3 honor rolls, right? Which, by the way, again got buffed a lot this patch. Smarty Pants. It has Charging Sun 5, Solar Flare 5, right? Healing Sun if you want. It's really fast. 300 something speed that you can max out your speed plus 6 speed, right? With +2 defense. What's solid special attack stat? Yeah, I think Leavanny is severely underrated. I would have put it 1 tier higher, but again, the other folks disagreed, so. Oh well. That's where the majority of the vote went. Agvalog is terrible. Raichu is probably in the good tier. Discharge still is bad. It did get helped with Electric Train, but it has like no multipliers. It's pretty bad. The Sync Nuke is fine, I guess. Dugtrio, I don't know. It's probably if I put it in the bra tier, it's probably the best bra. I don't know. It's slightly disappointing. I mean, Iron Head's always a great move, though. The chance to flinch always great. But how that doesn't really do that much. Rayquaza probably in the met here. If you invest into it, right, either clear-headed or dauntless Rayquaza, it still hits really hard, right? So there's that. Haxorus probably in the I don't know, between good or quite useful. I say good, I guess. It's still great in Villa because of Carry On, which is really good. Does some solid damage, especially with Confusion Boon 5. I mean, if you're not running Confusion Boon 5, you should be running Haxorus. Its damage is really bad if you don't run Confusion Boon 5. Lucario, I don't know. I'm between good and quite useful. I want to say good maybe. It's probably one of the weaker goods though. It does solid damage off of close combat. It just cannot take a hit, unfortunately. Arbok is probably in Broad here. I mean, has cool multipliers, but it's overall not that great, unfortunately. Chandler's a Met here. It's solid damage with Shadow Ball, I guess. Pinsir is in Broad here. It just lost its use completely. It fell off a cliff. Machamp maybe a Met here. It's really slow, which sucks. But it has Crit Strike, which is nice. Cross Chop is cool. You just need a really good team around it. Scolipede probably a Met here as well. It's a solid damage dealer without a grid, right? Poison type damage dealer. Pikachu probably in good or I'd say quite useful, I guess. Pikachu just kind of fell off because there's just better potion options, right? Obviously Pikachu's not you're not using it as striker. I mean, you can use it as striker, it's just not that great. It's much better used as a potion / support kind of thing, right? And again, there's just better units with that now, unfortunately. Turner and Brood here. This thing is a grid, man. And Kingdra probably in the good tier as well. Kingdra's really good damage, right? The Kingdra's damage is actually pretty crazy. It's really hard to set up, unfortunately. So, anyways, that's me with this one, I guess. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, completely subjective. I agree with, like, probably 60% of this list. So, again, let me know, guys, think in the comments down below. Like, enjoy this video, subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon Masters content. I'll see you guys in the next one.